Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Limitless Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Parnell, and before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you need to on social media, including YouTube at The Bearded Leader. Don't forget to subscribe and comment and like and share all the things from there as well, because I'm on a mission to reach people and build leaders. And folks, this is a special episode for me because this is the 100th episode of the Limitless Leadership Podcast. So I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for helping me reach people and build leaders, because without your support, without the reviews, without the subscriptions, we can't reach more people. And that's ultimately what we're able to do. So the more reviews come in, the better. The more subscriptions come in, the better. So thank you again for all your support. This is the 100th episode, and so with that being said, I want to take a moment to just exercise some gratitude. I think it's so important that we exercise gratitude daily, having a daily gratitude practice, and being able to recognize all the wins that we're experiencing in our life, all the blessings that God is bestowing upon our life. And it's so easy for us to naturally gravitate towards the negative. That's typically what we do. Humans have up to 60,000 thoughts per day. And studies show that 80% of our thoughts are negative and 90% of our thoughts are repetitive. So it's no wonder why we regularly experience stress and worry and doubt and concern, anxiety and fear. But we know that fear is simply false evidence appearing real. And we're always going to find evidence in the things that we believe. And this is important because if we naturally gravitate towards the negative, we may be blinded to all the positives, all the wins that we're experiencing, and the wins that we can keep on stacking upon those wins. So I want to start by just exercising gratitude for you, for this platform, for the podcast, for the opportunity to reach people and build leaders. And speaking of leaders, I've had now certainly dozens of phenomenal leaders, mostly across the automotive repair industry, but also across other industries, grace the airwaves with their voice and share with us all of the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of information, the takeaways, the nuggets over the last couple years. And I wanted to share with you today some of my favorite responses, some of my favorite clips from a particular question that I ask every single guest on every single episode, which is, what does leadership mean to you? So as you know, this is a leadership podcast. So regardless of my guest, regardless of their industry, I'll always ask that question: what does leadership mean to you? And I want to share a handful of great responses, some fun responses, the ones that have helped me shift my own perspective. With perspective, the way that we view things drives the way that we do things. Help me shift and shape my own paradigm on things. And so with that being said, tune into the rest of this episode to listen to some of the greatest responses to the question of what does leadership mean to you.
You're listening to the Limitless Leadership Podcast, the podcast designed to help automotive repair shops learn how to lead, coach, train, and manage their team better by sharing proven techniques and thought-provoking interviews from industry leaders. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's today's episode.
You're either helping or you're hurting. And so leadership, again, could be a buzzword where we think we need the title, or we think, we need followers to lead. No, it's all day, every day. You're making decisions that are leading people in the right direction or the wrong direction, being a blessing or a burden to society or your fellow team members or the 50 employees that you have. It doesn't matter. So really it is everything to me.
That's so good, Matt. And when you have more time, when you're getting more time in your day to be more effective, I mean, think about the impact you're able to make. I want to go back to something that you just shared and really the effect that it had on you, because to your point, we are contagious. We can either infect or we can affect. And that person 35 years ago, she gave you a label. She put a label on you. Mm-hmm. And I think any one of us who are listening to this episode can think back to a time when someone put a label on you that wasn't positive.
That's right.
It was, if someone called you a name, if someone said that you were something, I'm not going to throw any words out there, but it's something negative. As a 5-year-old, imagine the kind of impact that has on somebody. Now, thankfully, you had someone who positively labeled you. So the impact that she had was quite frankly, it might be immeasurable. I mean, it might be priceless to this day, because I'd imagine that some of what she shared with you hung on to that, and you carried that for most of your life, still to this day.
Yeah.
And thankfully it was a positive one. But here's the sad reality. A lot of times those labels that we throw on someone or someone throws on us, and sometimes we're throwing it on ourselves, by the way.
I was actually going to cut you off there, but keep going.
Yeah, because labels do create limitations. If I give myself a label that I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent, I'm limiting myself because I'm choosing to believe something that's not even true because someone else put something on me.
I was, when you were talking, I was literally thinking most of the time the negative labels are what we tell ourselves. It's usually I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, I'm not smart enough, I can't do that. And we tell ourselves a million different things about who we think we are.
Yeah.
And the most powerful people in my life are the ones that have told me a positive, no, you are this.
Yeah.
No, you're a child of God. No, you're a leader. No, you are loved. And then the crazy thing is I started believing it. So this was my buddy's mom. And then fast forward 15 years in college, I was in a rough place and I had a guy call me out and he goes, same thing. You're a leader. You're going to do great things. I believe in you. I see something in you that you don't see in yourself. And I'm going to draw that out. You know, you and I both are believers, and I have this thing about we're all created in God's image. Our job is to call that creation out of people and show it to them and put it in the mirror. Because we all have God in us. We just have to, as a leader, I got to know my people and see, like we did with our core values, the things in them that they don't see in themselves, and then turn it around and help them believe it.
I think every shop owner that I've ever worked with wants the best for their team. They want the best for their staff. They want the best for their clients. But unfortunately, a lot of them, they don't know how to lead and they don't know how to get there. And then all of a sudden that leads to maybe high turnover. That leads to a poor customer experience, whatever the case may be. I personally, and I'm sure you're in the same boat, I personally don't know any shop owners, business owners that like don't want to be a better leader or don't want to take care of their team.
Yeah, you're right.
But, for me, it's about putting the right butts in the seat. And as a leader, sometimes you have to look and say, I didn't put this person in the right spot. And they didn't fail because of themselves. They failed because I didn't do my job. In our industry, right?
Yeah.
A technician might not be the best service advisor.
That's right. Yeah.
And so just because he's been our longest or she's been our longest tenured employee and they want a path to growth, we put them in that seat. But do we give them the tools? Did we really let them get the education and be successful? And did we put them in the right spot? And so as a leader, you have to look in the mirror a lot and say, this one's on me. We didn't achieve what we wanted to, but this one's on me. And then of course, other times you can give everybody all the tools, you can put them in the right spot. But if they don't share that vision and that goal that you share, then unfortunately, they might not be a fit for your organization.
I knew you were going to hit me with that one. And that's because you know what? Again, I don't feel like a leader yet, but, I feel like a leader never stops learning. Mm-hmm. They lead and they never stop growing themselves, and they give, you become a beacon of light for other people. It's not like, I'm the leader, I'm the owner of Brown's Automotive. It's about responsibility. I'm responsible for feeding 7 households. It's about service. I'm responsible for servicing thousands of vehicles in our neighborhood. It's about integrity, when that part wasn't needed, actually refunding the customer. It's about doing all the right things when nobody's watching you. So it's about, setting standards, so.
Leadership to me is just helping those you're working with get to the next level. And so honestly, is really humbled to be even, to be asked to come on your podcast here, because it's like, I mean, I don't like to consider myself to be a great leader. I just like to think that I'm really helping people on the journey and trying to help our customers. At the end of the day, that's what's most important, right? And so I'm trying to help my team get better, and I'm trying to grow and make sure that, we're doing what we need to do, but we're still taking care of those people that are relying on us. And so, I mean, leadership to me, I think, is once again just helping people get to the next level, whatever their next level is, while I help and guide them to be where I think they can be too. It's one of my gifts, is seeing people's potential and helping them get to it. Because I can see things and encourage people in ways that they may not see themselves.
Love that.
So, I love doing that. But
I think leadership, what it really means to me, is being there for your people. I mean, ultimately, you're with your people. And I don't look at it, there's a picture, right? And I think you've seen this, but there's the guy that's in front and he's dragging the whole group of people behind him with a rope. And there's the guy on the other side of the picture that's back there pushing his team forward. And to me, leadership to me is I'm with my team, and they know I've got their back no matter what. And they know that they can come to me, and it might be a tough talk, but they know I'm going to have their best interest.
Yeah.
It's building that trust and that level of respect with them that has gotten me to where I am. And looking back on my leadership journey, that's been the number one thing that's led to the success of what I've had and the roles I've had, is understanding that I'm in the trenches with you guys. I've got your back. I'm never going to do something that, or tell you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. It's just the leading by example, right?
Look, I've always been one of those people, in the old sayings, and I think, people look at things and they say why, and others say why not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have to be that way. I think there's a couple things you need in life to understand, to try to be somewhat successful. And I think one of the most important things you need to know is most of the issues, challenges, and problems you face, you created yourself. That's usually the way it is. The other thing is, nobody is going to wave a wand and everything's going to get better. Moving to another town doesn't make it better. You're going to have the issues that are there until you really take the time, look introspectively, and fix them. And if you're willing to do that, you can start to move. And then just know what you don't know. I mean, hire people smarter than you. Hire people that have that same alignment that you have, that want to keep moving forward and keep building something. And
leadership means to me, and of course, I'm going to give you two perspectives, if you don't mind. So I get to answer this question twice. Yeah. Okay. From the perspective of a technical instructor, leadership means taking the time to do the work. Do the work that's required to put together the material that just doesn't look good in a PowerPoint or fills pages in hundreds of pages of material just to say, my book is this big. Put in the time that you can take those 100 pages and make them 10. And people walk away with the same outcome by being intimately familiar with 10 pages than overwhelmed with 100. I've seen so many classes delivered in the fashion where volume, a ton of material. And they're speaking at 100 miles an hour because they have X amount of time to get through all the material. And in the end, what are we really accomplishing? It's not something. So for me, I think we as instructors have a responsibility to our audience, our beloved fellow technicians, the people we want to help most. I want to be a hero to them. I want to be everybody's friend. I want anybody that talks about me to go, you know what? Regardless of what I think of Brandon, he's always there to help. He always says he's going to help, and he always does. And that's something I always try to do. So I don't think you can be a decent instructor, in my opinion. I don't think you can be a decent instructor without being accountable, without being reachable. People say, you're crazy to give out your phone number. Why? I don't have to answer it. Yeah. I always do.
Yeah.
But I think you can't turn it off. I don't think you can be a very good instructor and not be reachable. And that's solely my opinion. There's plenty of great instructors out there, but for me, I can't be my best version of myself as an instructor without being reachable. So that's the perspective, my perspective as an instructor. leadership to me as a technician means taking the responsibility to understand how things work. And unfortunately, we're scientists. We may not have signed up to be scientists, but we are. And like it or not, you're going to have to invest time you are not going to get paid for. You're not going to be on the clock. You can't do it on the clock because you have to work on the clock. But there are going to be times that you're going to have to take a book home and read. And you're going to have to stay late sometimes and experiment on your own car. And it's going to cost you. You're going to break stuff and you're going to have to pay for it. But this is what it takes to be a great technician. And I can promise you, if you take the time to understand how individual things, components work at their most basic level, once you understand how those components work and you start to configure systems, right? You start to understand how things are laid out on this car as compared to how things are laid out on that car over there. When you start to understand and think like that, if you have the right information and you have the right tools and you know what those tools can do and what they can't do, you couple those three, put them all together, there's nothing you can't figure out. You might not be able to fix it because parts aren't available. It requires a special tool that you can't get, but you can certainly figure it out.
Loyalty. Leadership to me breeds loyalty. If you're a good leader, your crew are going to be loyal. They're going to do whatever you ask them. You don't have to ask them to do a lot because they know what to do. And they just they follow you into battle, right?
Yeah.
They trust you almost with every aspect of their life.
So leadership is being a visionary more than anything. So as your job as a leader is to be that visionary. When everybody else has the blinders, everybody else has that 5-foot view, when everybody else is frustrated and they feel they're at wit's end, they're having a hard day, that car's not working right, the customer's declining the work, or hey, we're supposed to have work coming in, it's raining, so now the traffic is slowed down. The job of the leader is to make sure that you pick up the load. So that's the difference between a leader and a manager, right? We've seen tons of pictures on the internet. I'm sure everybody's seen it, where you have the Egyptian, slave runner that's cracking the whip versus the one that jumps down and helps push the boulder. So as a leader, we need to be that visionary. We need to be that person that's lifting people up. As a leader, I am a Christian. I'm a God-fearing man. I'm an absolute Christian. And I feel that we are called to be the light in the dark, number one. But if Jesus was able to allow his feet to get washed and walked all over to preach the gospel, who are we as individuals, lesser than a higher entity, right? Then not want to roll up our sleeves and say, well, that's not my job. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard it a lot of times. Well, that's not in my job description. And ever since I was young, I always had the mentality, I'm getting hired for this, but if they tell me to scrub the toilet, I'm scrubbing the toilet. I'm an expensive toilet scrubber at this point. That's on the owner's decision at that point. But if I have to do it, nothing is beneath us. So as leaders, we have to pick up that load. We need to make sure that we're treating our business and our employees like family.
That's a good question. And I've been thinking a lot about this. You gave me a little bit of a warning a couple of days ago to think about what leadership means to me. And with so many years in the Boy Scouts, that is a very strong foundation for me with the Scout law, the Scout oath, the Scout motto. Leadership to me is service. It is becoming that servant leader where you don't work for me, I work for you. What can I do to help you do your job better? What obstacles are in your way that I can help remove those obstacles and make it easier for you to do your job? So first of all, leadership is service. Leadership, second of all, is ownership, accountability. Ronald Reagan was a phenomenal leader, and he stood up in front of the entire nation and said, it was my fault. Was it his fault? Ultimately, yes, he's the president, but it was Colin Powell that made the mistake. Reagan owned it, because at the end of the day, he is the leader. He is the CEO. And I saw this demonstrated very recently with Wayne Marshall, CEO of the Institute. He stood up and said to the entire company, guys, I made a mistake. It wasn't his mistake. But at the end of the day, it was his mistake.
Yeah. What does leadership mean to me? Leadership means that's a fantastic question. And I'm going to say as the beginning answer to that, and then I'll get to my real answer.
Okay.
That's been debated for 3,000 years. I'm not kidding you, right? This has been a topic of conversation that coming up with the definition has always been hard to come by. Leadership to me means walking out a higher level of existence yourself, genuinely, authentically, than the world typically operates at. That's my definition of leadership. And you and I get it from a faith platform. You can get it from an ethical platform, a moral platform. I do all kinds of teaching, and I talk about the philosophers and the Stoics and the esoterics. And we can have all kinds of fun talking about that stuff on yet another podcast if we want to do that. But the bottom line is it's like true leaders walk differently from others in something that's a higher level of meaning to the followers. If you look back as a leader and nobody's behind you, you're not a leader. You may be a manager. You're not a leader. Leaders stand for something. And the people that follow them, whether that be team members or customers or a community or an industry, are people who stand for something meaningful to the folks that follow them. And so I'll say this in sort of a way of wrapping this up from my perspective. We share this. Our world is sort of increasingly getting shakier in terms of the platforms that we used to build societal connection on. And if anything, this is a time like, I don't know, in history, maybe the cavemen, we could go back that far and get to the same, where we need people to stand up and stand for something meaningful that folks can find and come to want to be around and have that added depth of perspective to their life. You and I talked about, what do I teach? I teach what we need as human beings. I teach what satisfies us when we get what we want and all that. Every one of those things is based on meaning. And we're operating at a transactional level where meaning is not present, or even at the kind of how level of this is the differentiation, but there's no meaning in it. We're below human potential. And so leadership to me is finding your genuine, authentic meaning and then walking your life as intentionally as you can in it. And you're going to look back and there's going to be people behind you. And it's not because you're trying to charismatically call them or outwit them with intelligence or any of that stuff. It's because people are looking for authenticity and something meaningful and powerful and positive. And so walk it out, guys. You all have it in you. We all know what that means. And that's what I mean, is that every single human being is a leader. It's just a matter of whether we see ourselves that way. So.
That's just like, what does it mean? I think it's...
I think leadership is about getting people to do things because they trust you and they want to follow you rather than they're being forced to do something. And also when the things that you are doing are turning other people into leaders, like when you do things that are enabling people now to do things that they used to not be able to do, and they can do it without you, and they make the right choices without you. To me, that's leadership. We talk about leadership is the L in our shield, and we talk about it amongst our team that every single person there is a leader. And it's not, we're not talking about leadership when it comes to the accountability chart, because we have our accountability chart and there's people that actually have, the title of like team leader. But it doesn't matter where you're at on that accountability chart. Other people are watching you. And when you are setting an example that other people would want to follow, or that they should follow, that is leadership. It's about doing the right thing. It's about like making the people around you better. That's really the only way that I know, to define it, other than going to Webster's and grabbing their definition of it.
Which even that, I'm not so sure is probably great and includes everything. It's very hard to just say leadership is blah, 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 period.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the part that I'm having a hard time with because it's so much, it's so many different things. And I love that graphic that somebody created, and now there's multiple versions of it where it's the difference between a leader and a boss, right? The leaders, the boss is the one out in front and pulling and or standing up on a pedestal, pointing and telling where to go, whereas the leader is down in the trenches with them.
Well, leadership means to me is always being there for the ones that I'm leading. I always have their back no matter what. I'm not a good teaching leader. It's funny because I don't understand what this hang up I have, but it's hard for me to teach my employees something, like to go in and show them a technical thing and show them how to do it. They say I'm good at it. I don't feel like I'm too good at it. But if somebody hires me to come, if they want me to come teach a class, I'm really good at that. And I call myself a good leader, but if I have to go in and teach them something, I'm not very good. Like my son, the way I taught him, I would just say, all right, son, this transmission has to be put in. There's shop key. There's your computer with shop key. Figure out how to do it. And he just did it. So I'm not a good leader in that way, but I feel like I'm doing pretty good in other ways.
I think you have to live by example and you have to inspire. That's it. The rest falls into place if you have the right people.
Yeah. Short, simple, clear, and concise. Incredible. Incredible. This episode, I hope you took away from this episode as much as I did. Incredible guests, incredible takeaways, thoughtful responses to the question of what does leadership mean to you? And the beauty in all of this, as you can see, is that every person's definition of leadership differs in some form or fashion. Everyone has their own unique individual perspective, which makes them one of one. And with perspective, we're able to influence those that we're leading because we have that unique individual perspective based on our upbringing or our life experiences, which shapes the way that we can influence those around us. And when we're influential, that means that we are contagious. We can either infect or we can affect. And ultimately, I know that you're listening in, and you're someone who is positively affecting change at your shop, at your place of business, at your school, at wherever you're at in your church, in your community. You're affecting change in a great way. You are a change agent. And everyone who is a change agent is a leader. And while everyone may have differing definitions of leadership, at the heart of every answer, you'll notice that it is always about people. Connection creates engagement, and engagement is what increases performance. But it starts with the person before the process, the person before the profit, the name before the job title, connection before content. It starts with people, creating engagement and increasing performance. So thanks again for tuning in. As always, this is the 100th episode, but hopefully thousands more to come. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a loyal listener, a subscriber. Don't forget to leave a review if this episode impacted you the way it impacted me. Thanks for being here, everyone. Don't forget to smile today. Don't forget to tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.